Hey, what's up Exiles, and welcome back to another build guide video. For today, I finally present to you my fully min-maxed low life righteous fire guardian with over 20,000 energy shield and nearly capped elemental resistances and crazy amount of armor. This is basically the holy grail of low life righteous fire builds. And what's nice about it is that you don't need legacy items to get 20,000 plus energy shield with it in League. Now before I head into passive tree, items, etc, there are three disclaimers. First of all, yes, you don't need legacy items to get this build. I guarantee it to you. If you are playing a league, you can have plus 20,000 energy shield, but it's not going to be cheap, as you probably could tell from the amount of energy shield I have. It's just like, although it's not crazily expensive, like you are not going to spend a mirror or two on this build, it's still like very expensive. Like we are talking close to 200 exalts, something like that, mainly because of the Watcher's Eye, because now it's like it goes for 100x in League, the one we are using, and sadly it's mandatory. So yeah, the second disclaimer is that this is not a League starter build, even if you want to try a budget version, because you need 10x worth of items to start with this one, as sustaining Righteous Fire is very difficult right now. And not only you need to sustain Righteous Fire, but you need an overhit to regen from the damage you take from monsters. So this is absolutely not a League starter. And finally, you will find the path of building link at the description. So let's go over the passive tree first. Now, as a guardian, you might notice that just stacking energy shield alone is no longer efficient. Like, as you can see, we're not like taking every single energy shield node you can think of. I don't even have these over here or these. So to reach crazy levels of energy shield like I have here, the main secret is to start investing into multiple sources. So for example, you see I have lots of strength on the tree, you know, unnecessary strength. So what I have done is that I have combined this with Shaper's Touch. Now, if you are familiar with this item, it makes it so that strength bonuses counts toward intelligence, so that now strength is both percentage energy shield and mana, and now we have more mana to work with. So with ascendancy, one of the ascendancy nodes we have, the Radiant Faith, it gives you energy shield based on your reserved mana. So now you can see that we are trying to diversify our investment with this character, and not just like go flat energy shield and percentage energy shield, because if you actually try to go pure energy shield guardian in 3.9 or afterward, you are not going to go above like 16,000 energy shield, sadly, and that's even more expensive because you need legacy items for that. So we start as a Templar, ascend into Guardian. Try to play this as like a Fireball caster or like anything you want, Molten Strike, something like a Molten Strike Juggernaut, and then like at level 70 respec into a tree similar to mine and just like start building up on it, because as I said, you can't sustain Righteous Fire at the start, and like even so with the low life Righteous Fire version, because your regeneration will suck. So first you have Time of Need, 25% life regen. So I mean 30% life regen over 1 second every 5 seconds. That's the main reason why we take this node. It also reduces the effect of curses on you. So if you are, for example, trying to kill Uber at Ziri, which reflects all the curses back to you, now it's gonna have 25% less effectiveness. If you are leveling with a Templar, you should go for this one first, regardless of what build you are running, before you reach level 70. It helps complement your resistances while leveling, which is always a problem for new players specifically. And also you gain 10% permanent more damage modifier, which is like overall a modifier for your damage, all sources, Righteous Fire, Scorching Ray, anything. If you have at least one ally near you, and that will be your golem basically. I'm using Stone Golem because it gives you life regen. Next you have Radiant Faith. Only get this if you have Shavron's Wrapping, the chest piece item. This will allow you to reserve your life, to convert it into 160% armor based on its original value, and you get 15% of your reserved mana as energy shield. So yeah, you need Chevrons for this because you need to reserve your life to get the free armor. Finally, you have Unwavering Faith. This allows your aura to provide additional bonuses, like 1% fizz damage reduction per aura and 0.2% life regenerated per second per aura. Now, what's important to understand is that these count as an aura base bonus. So if you have nodes that increases aura effectiveness, like this one, they will apply to the extra bonuses given from this ascendancy node. So the more auras you run and the higher the aura effectiveness bonuses you have, the more benefits you will get from this ascendancy node per aura. Now you could take this one if you want, but I'm using Selfless Frame in this build, so you can't block. So Bastion of Hope is completely useless now. I will get to items later. So passive tree. I would prefer if you just copy it from the Path of Building link, but for those who just want to get a basic idea behind the passive tree, we have scaling for strength. We need jewel sockets, lots of them. I have, I think, 9 or 8, I don't know. You need life regen, lots of life regen. You take Zealot's Oath to convert all of that into energy shield regen, and you take the minimum of these 4 aura nodes and these 3, because otherwise your aura setup is not going to work. And then you take generic armor, energy shield, mana and energy shield scaling nodes, or just like flat mana, as well as I have here life regen. That's basically it. Life regen, mana, intelligence, strength, percentage energy shield, and armor if possible. I have these 3 invested for damage, and that's basically all my investment on the tree for damage, except for these 2, although I have taken these 2 clusters for the life regen they provide in addition to the damage they give, but mainly I just have these as a pure damage investment for Righteous Fire, because although Righteous Fire now deal less damage compared to before, as you scale your energy shield and or life, it's still like it does scale, so you don't forget about that. So let's talk about other important keystones aside from Zealot's Oath. You have Elemental Overload. We have a skill that triggers a crit. We have it a support setup that's linked with the increased critical strikes support gem. That helps us proc a crit at least once every 8 seconds, and that will maintain Elemental Overload, which is basically 40% more total elemental damage dealt. Then we have Elemental Equilibrium. Now the thing about this is that if you hit an enemy with an elemental skill, they will gain elemental resistance to that skill and lose elemental resistances to other skills. Now you might think why anyone would use this, because you know Righteous Fire is a fire skill, Scorching Ray is a fire skill, so why would we bother take this? It will give them resistances to fire. The reason for this is that not every skill proc Elemental Equilibrium. Scorching Ray and Righteous Fire don't, and for that reason we take this. We rely on our support setup, the one that procs Elemental Overload, which happened to be a lightning skill, Orb of Storms, to hit enemies and proc Elemental Equilibrium of type lightning. So they gain resistance to lightning, which is not really a problem for us, but they gain minus 50% resistance to fire. And that's a free elemental weakness curse on all enemies, except that it does not get reduced by the enemy's resistance to curses, so that's a flat minus 50 fire resistance. We have Pain Atonement for increasing the damage of our Scorching Ray, and finally we have generic nodes that scales attributes. We mainly just want strength and intelligence, because they are the most efficient stats to increases our total energy shield. Again, strength is useful because of Shaper's Touch. Now, let's talk about jewels. Let's talk about your generic jewels first. For jewels, you want, for prefixes, your ideal will be energy shield and mana, or mana and burning damage, or energy shield and burning damage, it doesn't matter. Why burning damage? Because it can roll up to 20% and it's a prefix. The damage mod on prefixes are much more powerful than damage mod on suffixes, and usually nobody care about burning damage as a prefix unless they are playing Righteous Fire like you, so the mod itself is cheap when combined with mana and energy shield. So for suffixes, you want intelligence or strength or all attributes, any elemental resistance you need. That's basically the whole idea behind all your jewels. You can go full ham on damage, like for example I have this one. It has, like, it's an ideal jewel in terms of damage. I have burning damage, damage over time, fire damage, and increased maximum mana, the most efficient mod for scaling our energy shield. And yeah, that's it. If you want damage, you can have both fire and burning damage with 2 defensive mods like attributes and increased maximum energy shield or mana. And yeah, that's it. You are given the option between going damage or full defense on your jewels. That's up to you. So if I go full defensive jewels instead of going damage on this one, for example, I can easily have 22,000 energy shield. So yeah, that's about it for the passive tree. Don't forget about the aura nodes here and here. You don't need to invest any further than that. You don't need the one over here. So yeah. So let's talk about unique jewels now. We have 3 unique jewels. One of them can be thrown aside for a 4-modded defensive jewel. The not mandatory one is Emperor's Mastery. Just like a good overall jewel to have on your energy shield builds, but you don't need it, because if you have right now a jewel with like mana, energy shield as a prefix, and strength and intelligence suffix, both of them, all attributes, for example, you can have as much energy shield as this jewel gives you. So yeah, that's a jewel you could use if you have it. If you don't have it, you don't really need to buy one, because that by itself is an investment. For your second this one is mandatory. You need 1 healthy mind jewel. You want to put it right here. Why? Because it will convert these 3 nodes into pure mana rather than life and mana, and will allow you to invest into these 2 nodes, and they will give you mana instead of life at twice of their value. So it just gives you so much potential for further mana investment if placed right here. And it's the key for you to take a good use of these 2 nodes and these 3 nodes. Finally, for Watcher's Eye, sadly you need to start with 2 modded Watcher's Eye. Yes, you could start with 1, but you will have way less energy shield than I have. Like Watcher's Eye, this one right here is almost 4,000 energy shield for me. So you want energy shield recovery rate while affected by discipline up to 30%, and 18% mana as extra energy shield while affected by clarity. Sadly, this combination in particular is extremely expensive in League right now. So again, this is an end League thing. You don't start with this build, or even like plan it as your second build. This is basically a build that you go with at like the last 1 month of the League, if you have already, you know, just like spent 2/4 of your League just like hoarding currency to make this build happen, and just like steamroll the entire game with it. So that was for our passive tree. Let's talk about items. Now, what's good about items is that they are not very specific. There are too many mods that we want, like a strength roll on an energy shield build is usually useless, but not for us. So you can have roles that other builds will not need, like mana and strength, and these will be greatly beneficial for you at like a good price. So let's start with core items, the unique ones. I have Chevron's Wrapping. This one allows you to use your life as auras. It also allows you to protect yourself against chaos damage. So even if you have 1% life, this one will protect you from chaos damage, because it has to deal with your energy shield first before dealing damage to your life. So even with -60 chaos resistance, it's not really a problem for us. If you have got this, you can start running Righteous Fire, as well as if you had the ability to sustain it, of course. So the next unique item you want is a Shaper's Touch with +2 aura gems or +2 AoE gems corruption. It is expensive with this particular corruption, and that goes because of me. I'm sorry for that. Just like an easy combo to have the +2 aura and or AoE corruption on Shaper's Touch in combination with level 21 purities. This will allow your purities to go to level 23. And the reason why this is important is simply because a level 23 purity and above will give you 1 additional maximum element resistance compared to level 22 or lower. So you can have level 21 gem and +2 from the item. And the easiest, the most common item to have the +2 corruption on it is the Shaper's Touch. So that's it for the auras we are using. We have all 3 purities over here to maximize the potential of our +2 corruption. And that's it. Yeah, I have basically triple 23 aura gems running here. And we have Molten Shell, because I didn't have any other place to put it in. For Helm, we have Memory Vault. This gives you armor equal to your reserved mana, in addition to the armor you gain from your reserved life. It also gives you mana and energy shield and fire resistance, so basically everything you need in this build. It can also roll up to 2% life regen corruption as an implicit, and that's basically another thing you can have on the Helm. A Helm like this with this specific corruption will sit you for like 20 to 30 exalts in League or Standard, just like overall an expensive corruption to have on this specific Helm. But if you have this, with or without the corruption, you will have 30,000 armor. Mainly because of your mana, not because of your life. But this is the key to go above like 15 or 10,000 armor and make yourself semi-immune to physical damage. in conjunction with the fizz damage reduction you gain from your ascendancy. So yeah, that's a free defensive layer. For the gem socketed in your helm, you have another aura setup. This one uses blood magic to reserve life and a state of mana. Have level 21 blood magic, linked with level 3 enlighten, and these are linked with Herald of Ash and discipline, Val discipline to be specific. Next, for amulet, I have a marble amulet. I really don't care about what mods it has. It should have the 12% increased attributes shaper mod, because that basically is the best single mod you can have on all of your items, based on how much energy shield you get per mod. Then you can have mana, energy shield, area of effect craft, or life regen craft. It's up to you. You can have this and multi-mod it. For example, you can buy this amulet with like the attributes and the energy shield and mana like mods in the item, and just like multi-mod the rest, the life regen and any other mod that you are missing. But after that, you want to use your oils to allocate warrior's blood. This is basically a free vitality aura, just like that, with a 20 strength, which counts as a 20 intelligence. It also makes you harder to stun, and that's good because we are not stun immune in this build, but we rarely get stunned because of how tanky we are. For your rings, we have a generic rings. They have mods, as I said, mods that other people would care less about. This one has what we care about is a 50 plus strength and intelligence roll, and then from there you can upgrade into tier 1 energy shield and mana as a prefix, and craft one more attribute as your last suffix, like this one over here, 17 strength and intelligence. You can craft all attributes if you want. Same ring, basically same thing here. So these are your rings. Now for boots, we have generic ES boot with 30 movement speed. If you are unable to get boot like this because it can be expensive, then you can basically just like complement whatever missing on your boot on your jewels. So for example, if I need dexterity, which this boot is the one providing me with, I can just like get a cheaper boot with no dexterity roll and just like invest dexterity on my jewels. You can have high movement speed roll on it. The basic idea is that it will get more expensive the higher the movement speed roll is. And yeah, that's basically it. You need to farm the 2% life regen enchant on it. And yeah, that's it. Next, for belt, I have a self-crafted mirror tier belt. If you have been following my YouTube notification, I did post this belt. It took me like 50x in total as an investment to get it done, including the process of making the base, the crafting base, and the rest was just like dense fossils slammed into it to get this combination. Now, at this point, you might think that you are using a mirror tier item, Phoenix. Why you are telling us to use a build with a mirror tier item? Because I have a generic belt. It's not even a Stygian Vice, just like a crystal belt with the 20% life recovery. Sorry, I mean energy shield recovery mod on it, and the rest is just like multi-mod trash. If I replace it, you can see that I'm still above 20,000 energy shield. So like having a mirror tier belt is not really that big of a deal. On your belt, try to have the 20% energy shield recovery rate, Shaper or Crusader mod. Both of them can roll this. And for prefixes, you can have, you know, defensive stuff, double energy shield armor, and just like craft an attribute as your last suffix. Here we have our support 4-link setup, Orb of Storms, linked with increased crit chance support, Curse on hit to apply flammability. So not only it procs Elemental Overload and Elemental Equilibrium, now it also applies flammability curse. For your weapon, we have socketed gems are supported by Elemental Focus, Shaper Scepter, one-handed Scepter. Now, from there, you can have as many secondary mods as you can possibly have. Scepters now can roll up to 129 mana, so you can try to have that as a prefix alongside the Elemental Focus roll. And as a plus, you can have like tier 1 strength and intelligence as a suffix. I wasn't able to find something like that because if it would exist, it will always go for a mirror, because the casual people who craft, they usually don't care about scepter with such mods, as it's very useless for them. But for us, that's basically other people's trash as our treasure. So if someone creates something like this, it will 100% be listed for a mirror. But like I don't really want to invest into a mirror tier weapon, although it will ramp up my energy shield by like 1000 compared to the one I'm using over here. But anyway, you need, as a prefix, socketed gems are supported by elemental focus, a good mana roll, preferably 100 plus. From there you can just multi-mod the suffixes into like all attributes, intelligence, or like strength intelligence, whatever you see fit. Finally, you can craft fire damage over time multiplier as a prefix, because that's the most useful prefix craft you can have. For the gems we are running over here, I have a 4-link Righteous Fire setup. Now, let me be clear about this. You can just swap the gems between your main 6-link and your main 4-link Scorching Ray and Righteous Fire setups, depending on if you are bossing, just like you run a 6-link Righteous Fire and 4-link Scorching Ray in your weapon, and if you are just mapping, you can do quite the opposite. But generally speaking, Righteous Fire benefits much less from extra gem links compared to Scorching Ray. So, you know, the ideal scenario would be to run 4-link Righteous Fire. We have Righteous Fire with the Elemental Focus mod on the weapon, with linked with burning damage and concentrated effect. That's an ideal 4-link for Righteous Fire, although sadly you will be lacking on area of effect. But you can swap it with Scorching Ray setup and get back your area of effect. For the 6-link Scorching Ray setup, we have Scorching Ray, Elemental Focus, Burning Damage, Efficacy, Infused Channeling, and Control Destruction. Literally every single one of those gems contributes by like 50% more damage to the skill. And that's generally why people like to go 6-link Scorching Ray. Mainly because Righteous Fire does not benefit as good as Scorching Ray from support gems. Now just feel free to swap few gems here and there. Just like you don't even need to recolor the sockets, so you can just swap the gems you have over here to get a 6-link Righteous Fire setup and a 4-link Scorching Ray if you are mapping. Next and finally, we have a Staffel's Frame. Yes, this one is legacy, but it does not really contribute towards your maximum energy shield. You can actually use a high energy shield, let's say 300 energy shield with tier 1 strength and tier 1 intelligence roll. This will literally get you close to 25,000 energy shield compared to this shield that almost gives you no energy shield. But the reason why I'm using this is because Righteous Fire is a self-damaging skill, and the self-damage inflicted is based on your maximum energy shield. So the higher your energy shield is, the more self-damage reduction you get from Staffel's Frame, as it gets your fire resistance up by 4%. Now, an added bonus would be, of course, increasing the rest of your resistances by also 4%. For gems, here we have level 1 Clarity to proc the Watcher's Eye mod. I have Phase Run. Since I'm running Herald of Ash, I can't use Shield Charge, as Shield Charge is an attack skill, and if you hit an enemy with an attack skill that has even the least amount of fire damage, then it will apply Elemental Equilibrium to them of type Fire, and that will give them resistance to fire. And we don't want that because all of our damage is fire. So just use Phase Run instead of Shield Charge. And finally, I have Summon Stone Golem, because my Golem will be the reason of why I get 10% permanent damage from the Ascendancy mod. If you want something that you don't have to micromanage all the time, you can use Holy Relic, just like to get yourself a free minion that doesn't die. But be warned that Holy Relic will die from area damage, although enemies will not particularly target it, they will target you instead. And yeah, I just feel like a Stone Golem will be much better than Holy Relic, because it also adds over 100 life regen a second, which is the equivalent of Vitality mod, which will be converted into energy shield regeneration, of course, thanks to Zealot's Oath. And yeah, that's it for the items. I think I went over all of them. Let's talk about Pantheons. Since I can be stunned, I have the Soul of the Brine King. It also helps reducing the effective chill on me. So that's basically an overall extra protection against cold damage. Also, I can't be frozen if I have been frozen recently, which is in the past 4 seconds. So this is the most useful Pantheon against something like Uber Elder. Instead, if you wish to map, just like use the Soul of Lunaris. But for bossing, I highly recommend the Soul of the Brine King, especially Uber Elder. For the minor Pantheons, your only choice is to go with Tokuhama, because that's 2% life regen, up to 2% life regen over 4 seconds while channeling Scorching Ray. If you are stationary, you will gain the maximum benefit of that Pantheon, but it's very easy to get, as most of the time you will be just standing and attacking with Scorching Ray. For bandits, help Oak, because he gives you 1% life regen. And that's about it. That's basically the whole thing. The build as is right now, it will set you like 200 exalts, 50 exalts on all the items, and you will have 100 exalts on the Watcher's Eye with the 2 mods. It can go cheaper, like I have seen one with like 60 exalts, but that would be a catch if you can find it. And the rest of the jewels, they are like 40x. Like, I'm talking only 4 modded jewels. I'm not using a single 3 mod jewels. As you can see here, like 4 mods. For useful mods, of course, I have here also 4 mods. Here 4 mods, like just like perfect jewels overall. And these are very hard to get, as like there are few of them on the market, and like a lot of people are playing Righteous Fire, this version in particular. So these jewels, a 4 modded jewel like this, every jewel cost me like 5x, like with these mods. So on the passive tree alone, you are spending more than 2/3 of your build, like the budget of your build, on just like jewels, including Watcher's Eye, and the rest just goes into items. So yeah, that's basically it. Thanks you guys for watching. Make sure to send me feedback, and remember, it's not a budget build, so please stop messaging me inside the game asking me for budget options. It's not budget and will never be, just like an end game thing that literally steamrolls every single boss in the game. So yeah, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.